Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey,
surprise!
Happy Wednesday.
Yeah.
They didn't know you weren't going to be here.
Oh, they didn't?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm here.
Yes, Michelle's here.
Yeah. I may have to bug out a little bit early. I've got some stuff happening in town. So.
Yeah. So I thought we prepared an episode with thinking that Michelle wasn't going to be here, but now she's here, and that's wonderful. And we'll still talk about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm glad to see you from our basement studio in North Ogden, Utah, and got quite a bit of stuff to update on. Just first of all, we got our first V8 group meeting for the month of August on Thursday night, so we got that happening. That group is for 100 to 500 dealers, and if I heard from you today, we got 2 seats available in that group. So and then we have a second group that's also that size, but I'd love to hear from some dealers who want to sit in with those groups. By the way, the testimonial videos.
Oh my gosh,
so good!
So great.
I've got Chris Donnelly out of Texas, Anthony Wall out of New York, Vic Everett, California, Casey Leidecker, North Carolina, Seth Merrifield out of Alabama, and Robert Hernandez just came in yesterday from Texas. So we're going to be cycling those through and kind of helping you guys hear directly from dealers on how their experience has been. But the videos are so good. And special shout out to ScopeX Pros.
Oh my goodness, Crystal and Luis.
Yeah, they're doing a really nice job putting that stuff together. So we appreciate them. And also, just an update on the White Hat certification thing. You know, I put out a poll, and it was my own mistake. It got taken down because I put some links in. Yeah, so I'll probably just do a poll, a survey instead on that, so we can get feedback from dealers who can help us better know which pieces of the business they think they would like to have the training in, or think dealers would be best served, dealers and their managers.
There's a lot on the horizon in regards to White Hat Way. We are working on a certification program, and once a dealer has gone through that, then there is a marketing and other big pieces that are big parts of White Hat Way that are not dealer marketing. This is White Hat Way White Hat Way marketing, pointing customers to dealers.
Correct. Right.
So that is something that we are working on, and we're starting with just getting the topics and the main heading points for the White Hat Way certification.
Right. And I'm going to want to talk to vendors and especially lenders, and dealers on this to make sure I've got all the pieces that they think about. Then, we're working on the first iteration of the kind of the outline of that curriculum. So
it'll be good. It'll be great.
It's going to really be good stuff. So shall we jump into our topic?
Absolutely. We were supposed to talk more about camping, and Jim didn't think I was going to be here, so he's like, I'm going to hold on that. And then I found out that my appointment, I don't have to leave until 9:30. So I was like, I will be joining. Yeah. So today is on the story about 30-06s, and we had a long conversation about this.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah. So maybe it just helped to have our audience understand. We're not here to talk to you about hunting and guns.
No, we're not here to talk about guns.
There's a tie-in, but it's probably appropriate to give folks a little bit of understanding my background. Like, I grew up on a farm and ranch. Hunting was a way of life.
Oh my gosh. I watched movies as a kid. He went hunting.
Yeah.
Like after school, drop the book bag, grab your stuff, go out, do the thing, and come back for supper and homework.
My brother and I used to go quail hunting before we did our homework. Like, that's the kind of the way that I grew up. So it's so I grew up around firearms. I was more of a hunting person than I was a firearm specialist. However, I did in the thing that people talk about in entrepreneurship, like I try to make my passion into a business. And I did. I was a partner in a business when I was 24 years old. That was a pawn shop and sporting goods store, and did that for about 5.5 years. And then I opened my own sporting goods store that didn't have a pawn shop attached. And that was a whole different experience. I think I've touched on that in the morning show in the past. But the key part of this is that, when you grow up hunting and you're around hunters and they bring different firearms and this sort of thing, then one of the things that happened in the kind of the tire kicking context is that we would have people come into the gun shop who just, Saturday afternoon hobbyists or whatever, and they're in there buying a little bit of ammo, but they like talking hunting and guns. And inevitably we would have some hunter who would say, something typically.
Before you go into that, okay, let's just, when you're listening to this story, there's a parallel in here to talk and buy here, pay here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. So, you'd have these hunters that would come around, or gun enthusiasts more. And so they would come around. And these are typically older generation folks, right? That you would generally
I hear it now today, like with different people that I talk to, it's the same kind of conversation, but go ahead.
And I almost, I'm a pretty easygoing person. Like I almost never push back on this, but you would have people, kind of take this position, well 30-06 is the best rifle ever created, like that's the only gun any person ever needs. And I would listen to that and I think, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's really, that's not
that they have their favorite, the one that they might have used when they were younger, or the one that they have, and so they know how to use it and it does everything that they need it to do.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that is kind of related to our business. And you can see where we're going to get to in terms of, and in the description of the show, I talked about how this relates to buy here, pay here business models, because you'll meet people who say, this is the way to run your business. And obviously you and I see it on social media threads all the time. People chime in and say, do it this way. This is the way to do it. Like, oh, wait, there's more information that we need in order. Because for me, as a coach, over the years, you meet people and obviously you have a model or structure that you might recommend, but the first thing to learn is what is their objective with the business. Like, and this goes back to the gun thing, is like when you say 30-06, well, it's not the best choice if you're doing this, if you're doing this type of hunting, or you're doing, whatever else it might be. And so, maybe they're just arguing it's the most versatile. Well, that's fine, except that may not be what that person's doing. If you're going
and the next person,
if you're going to Alaska on a moose hunt, then maybe it's not versatility you're going for. Maybe it's something that's very precise to your particular objective. And so this is kind of where it ties in for me with our buy here, pay here business, because we hear people across the industry, and this is true of dealers, vendors, lots of people who kind of step in with an opinion about something, and a lot of people are naturally married to their business model.
Well, and it, especially it works, and it works for them. Sure. And so, the assumption is I've got it figured out because it's working. Sure. And so this is the way that it should be done. And in the terms of buy here, pay here, and even with the guns, it's like, that's a great opinion and it's working for you. And that's great. There are lots of other opinions and way of doing things. And I do appreciate, because we see this all the time on social media. It's like, this is the way, this is bad, this is good, this is, this is the only option. And it's, I even see it like when someone says, hey, who should I go to for X? And it's like, here. It's the same thing as the 30-06. It's the exact same thing. The 30-06 may not work for everybody.
Yeah, and we see this in particular around DMS, right? There's
correct.
People
That's
have
the
their
biggest
DMS.
conversation. Or GPS is another one that we see all the time.
You should use this DMS, or you should use this whatever product.
Or so-and-so for the win, or whatever. Right. And it's like there's lots of options, and not every person, not every dealer is the perfect fit for this DMS. Or this DMS is not the perfect fit for this dealer,
or whatever product,
or whatever it is. Yeah.
So that's kind of
just even like how you underwrite, or how you vet a potential client, or how you hire someone, or what your pay plan is, or all of the things.
All those pieces. I think it's just how you. So you think about how we respond on social media So the lens that I look through when I see people say, you should go with this software. And I think, how many other softwares are you familiar with? Like when I hear that person say that.
That's the key. Yeah.
Well, it's like back to this 30-06 person. Have you experienced these others? Do you really understand the difference between, and why are there, dozens of different rifle calibers available?
Correct.
Because they serve different purposes. And so the same thing with the DMS. They're kind of tailored to do different things, and some do certain things well. And so you kind of have to, I always am cautious about answering questions with questions. But sometimes when we're meeting somebody for the first time, I have to do that. I have to ask them questions in order to be able to answer what it is that they're looking for, because they don't know when they ask the question what the gamut is that's available. And I think especially in our buy here, pay here business, if we just talk about business models for a minute, there are at least two distinct categories of business models in my view. I see two approaches. One is very focused on equity and building and growth, and the other is focused on cash flow. And you can even break that into near-term cash flow and mid-term cash flow, and kind of how quickly do we need to start generating some positive cash. And so there's just so many different things to consider when it comes to offering advice. And I think, like I say, social media is kind of an exaggerated example. And look, people are busy. They're going to give somebody a sentence or two and an answer, right? And so it's like, it's not unexpected.
Yes. And the danger is that the person asking the question is, they're looking for answers. And so it is, I one thing I've recognized about you is when someone asks a question, you just kind of sit back and watch. And then if certain ways of doing something or certain vendors or whatever aren't mentioned, that you'll pop in there and say, hey, before you make a decision, consider this or this, and you want to look at these. And that's the thing, that the challenge is because this is such a specialized, everyone, you get to choose. It's like this most fiercely independent entrepreneurs, like you've said so many times, and so one size is not ever going to fit all.
It's not. And I think, somebody said, in one of the threads, and I appreciated that they said it, like, none of the DMSs are perfect.
No,
they don't scratch every
itch.
Well,
that's just one example, but yes.
Yeah. So I think, so on all these things you think about, and we're working with a number of people right now, boy, in the last year, especially like since December, so many people I've talked to that are in the middle of a software switch. They're moving to a new software and shopping software and looking at a new DMS. And I think, so that what that tells you is that they chose something and then they either outgrew it, or they weren't satisfied with things in some way. And so I think there's just a lot of elements to consider. And I think you can't know, like, there's going to be decisions you're going to make later that you didn't have any information at the time. But I think it's why I think it's important to give people a broader look at what the options are. This is going to be true of business models. This is going to be true of software, so that they can make a judgment for themselves. And I said it in some of the stuff we've been talking about recently. I just find that dealers sometimes don't get credit for their intellect. It's like they're capable of making good business decisions when they have enough information.
That's the key, right, though, when they have enough information. Yeah. And when a dealer is looking for a shift or a change or just starting or whatever, I know I can go from example from experience that when we coach a lot of dealers into the business. And when we always, when we're making introductions, because that's one of the things that is probably one of the most valuable pieces of getting someone started, is making introductions to different providers. And the very, very first one is always the DMS, because so much of the rest of it is interconnected and all that. And that you never give one.
Right.
You give 3 or more, depending on what their goals are.
Sure. It's always at least 3.
And then you make these warm introductions to people at the DMS. And then, if need be, you can sit there through the demo with them. Usually we don't need to, but it's just like, we'll come back and ask questions and then they make their own decision. But a lot of times, they'll say, which one do you prefer? And it just, again, it depends on what your goals are. So me being, let's just, I'm just someone in the audience, and I'm not the subject matter expert. That would be you. Is that there is a lot of value in looking at multiple options, doing the demos, taking some time, because when you go from like, I'm here and I'm unhappy and enough, it's like a popularity contest or something with other options, and then they're like, well, the one that got the most, I'm going to go with them. But maybe there's something else that's different that will fit what you need to do better. And so, I would strongly suggest that before you make big decisions like that, that you talk to people that know multiple platforms. Are familiar. Because it's like GPS, same thing. Reinsurance, same thing. I can go down payment processor, same thing. There's so many different things, and that it's a really good idea, if you want to make a very educated decision, is that you talk to someone who has been in the bowels of all of them, if you can, or someone that has experienced, multiple, or get a lot of different viewpoints, and then go and experience it yourself and see what feels right for you. Sure. I get this. Because some of the softwares that I've seen really, whatever softwares, because there's a gamut, they are more appealing to someone who is really analytical. And then there's others that are really appealing for someone that just wants it like dumbed down as much as you possibly can. So it just really depends, and not one size doesn't always fit all.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going from the rifle standpoint. It's like, I think if you're going prairie dog hunting in Wyoming, then 30-06 is a versatile rifle. I don't, for my 30-06 fans who it's not that 30-06 is not a versatile. It's very versatile.
Okay, do you want to know how much I know about guns?
Tell me.
I thought a 30-06 was a handgun.
It's not.
Okay.
That would be the most dangerous handgun.
So I would not ask me, because I'd be like, I don't know, the big one that shoots lots of things that go.
Yeah, no, it's not a handgun, but it's the point really is they're built to serve a certain purpose, right? And so if you're talking to a dealer who's looking for a software, we have to first understand like what's most important to you. And if they say it's accounting, then you're going to want to look at these, based on the accounting preference. But I think that's the thing and I think especially where it comes to whether it's dealers, vendors, salespeople in this industry, it's like we have to take a moment to find out for sure. And it's kind of 101 with sales, is like, let's listen to what it is that the person is really, what are the hot button things? Like what's most important to you that this thing fulfill, instead of just selling them this one most versatile thing, and then it doesn't check the most important box for them, and now they're unhappy. And so, it's
because, oh my goodness, especially with DMSs, that is just not, we've talked to plenty of dealers that have done a DMS switch, and usually when we counsel or coach people through just starting, it's like, it may seem like a lot right now or whatever, but if you can do this or do this or do this, that's based on your goals, this is gonna see you through all of the things. And of any provider switch in this industry, that is the one that it's like, dealers we're not doing anything but this for the next
it's better than it
3
used to
months
be.
or
but
whatever.
I do have one dealer I spoke to yesterday who's in that situation where they're just not they're just kind of tunnel vision on getting their
You
software
have to be.
conversion
There's
done.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I don't want to scare people. Like it's better than it was when I got in the business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The migrations or conversions to a new software, that process has improved.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's another thing that's going to be different with every provider as far as how
Well, and
effectively.
we have heard horror stories from one and not so bad on the next.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So you have to just be aware. But I think, for today, my main emphasis was just to say, let's first recognize before we answer somebody's questions about, there are different business models. We see it in V8. You can have a V8 meeting with 8 dealers and they've all got different strategies and different. Now, are they adapting their strategies now that they meet other dealers? Perhaps. We're definitely seeing some of that. But my point is, these are businesses that have been around for decades, and they're all kind of pursuing different strategies, and they all can work for them. And so it's like to say, this is the strategy for you. This is the way I would recommend it. And I think we just also need to, some of us raise our voice around certain things and think, and I just hear it through a lens of, well, what other experience do you have outside of this? You have the experience with this business model in this particular market as an example, and it's the only business model you've ever been familiar with, and it works for you, wonderful.
Which is fantastic.
But it doesn't mean it's the right model for this next person. And so that's the part that I think we, as coaches, I certainly adapt to that and try to make sure that people, that we hear from them what it is they're really trying to accomplish, because there's all different ways to be successful in the buy here, pay here segment. And there's, a number of different software solutions that might satisfy, what it is that you're really looking for. So it's not, I just think, are there some that are versatile? Sure. Will they serve the things that are most important to you? Got to ask the questions to find out what is most important to you, and then we'll begin to start to figure that out. But yeah, and I think in the meantime, we always just try to introduce people to at least 3, and let them go decide. And same thing with business models, lay it all out. I just emailed to somebody if they found our material, and I have this business model comparison thing. It's just a simple little tool that helps people decide, what's most important to you. Do you want a high priced car and a more equity focused driven model, or all these kind of things? You can make decisions, because we're just trying to help people understand the impact of those early decisions. And so I think we just let's be a little more cautious out there on social media when we're advising dealers and helping them make a selection about certain things, because this stuff is important. Like it's let's don't send them on a hunt with the wrong rifle. Like, let's just don't do that. So
can I possum?
Yeah, go ahead.
Which possum? Okay, for those of you that are new to Michelle,
everybody's heard the expression squirrel.
Squirrel.
Like
that's a completely different thing. Possum it's related.
That's what we decided to label it. I
so,
asked Michelle to come up with that. Can we identify that?
I know, right? I've heard this story, and I'm just curious. When your mom was shooting at snakes on top of your fence in Oklahoma, what kind of gun was she using?
That was a 22 rifle.
That was a 22 rifle?
Yeah.
Because, Jim's like, I remember this time, and it's like, boom, boom, boom.
My brother and I woke up
and
to gunshots from inside the house. Like, what the heck? And we both rushed to the top of the stairs. We're teenagers, late teens. And my little tiny mother.
His mother is like 90 pounds wet.
Yeah.
And she's just
got a
little.
rifle, her own rifle, by the way. She's got her own rifle leaning out the front door of the house, and she's shooting a snake that is totally harmless in the top of the
She doesn't like
fence.
snakes.
It's like
she does not like snakes.
I get that, but she
but
could have woken one of us up. It would have been probably a better approach.
But I mean, I know your mom, and your mom's like, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody's help. I can do this.
It's a very memorable story. We both
It is a very memorable
story,
but yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So 22.
Yeah.
Not a 30-06.
No.
And
so if 6 would have been awful in that situation.
So like if you need to shoot
a
snake off of it was probably cinder block fence, Spanish tile fence, a 22 is probably your best bet, but who knows? A BB gun probably would have worked.
BB gun might have done. I like to tell you, she didn't shoot the snake. She shot up the tile. Is all she did. But
she got a lot of something out. I mean, I'm like, sometimes, it's like a punching bag or whatever. It's like, I got some things I need to get out, and I just hate that snake.
She exercised a little bit.
She did.
So
So
fear, maybe.
Moral of the story: is not every gun fits every situation, or not. Yes.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
And so, be open to what other people are using or whatever. But when you're offering a suggestion about this is the only way to go, is recognize that necessarily isn't true. There's so much that depends on what the business model, what their goals, what their objectives are, all of that, what decision someone should make.
I think the simplest way I could say it, there's lots of ways to get there in Buy Here, Pay Here. You just have to first know where somebody's going. Mm-hmm. Where are you going? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? Yeah. And you can better advise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So, all right. It looks like I've got this is great because I've got plenty of time to get on the road. Nice. I've got to be down to Salt Lake University, Utah, and
good.
In about an hour.
When you're not here, this is the part where you wrap up the show. This is the part that I fumble every time. So I'm glad you're here.
Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on a White Hat Wednesday. We really appreciate your support. And if there's anything that we can do to help, feel free to reach out, give us a call, text, all of that. You can find us through all the social media channels and all of that. And we'd be happy to help you or introduce you or whatever it is that you need some help with. And have a great rest of your week. We'll be back on Friday. Not sure what the topic's going to be, but give us a suggestion. We'd be happy to help you. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks again so much.